Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. All rise for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everyone. It's warm, right, for this time of year, and it's officially fall. I can't believe that. I don't like the daylight being gone at this point, but it's that time of year, but it's nice out. I hope it stays that way. So the very first item on the agenda is recognition and appreciation of the PCZBA Commissioner. Oh, sorry, thank you. Thanks for that. I have a motion to allow Kent Tanucci to attend the meeting remotely.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee O'Reilly, second by Trustee Kritzmeyer. Roll call, please.
Trustee O'Reilly. Aye. Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee Jamil.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor. Aye.
All right, motion carried. All right, so the very first item on the agenda is recognition and appreciation of the PCZBA Commissioner, Shelley Rubin, for 30 years of service.
Wow.
30 years of you want to, okay, so you know what, I'll get up right now. No, you're going to give a speech right now?
When I first started on the ZBA.
Hey, Shelley, let me do my part first, okay? And then you can do your part, all right? So let's just do it this way, all right? So I was going to say, what an achievement, right? And we can't put this all into words, it's hard. But I was thinking about this. Long Grove was incorporated in, 1956? And so, like, just under half that time, you've been a commissioner. Now, not as much as Fred Phillips over there, right? So I see him there, and he's going to probably want to say a few words. But if I got this correct, you were originally appointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals by Lenore Simmons back in 1993. I got that from Fred, right? And she was then the village president at the time. But Robert Parker Coffin actually asked you to be the secretary of the Plan Commission, which you chose not to pursue, right? And at that time, Bob had already moved on, and he was the chair of the Plan Board of Commissioners. And then sometime later, and you'll tell me exactly when, it was combined into one organization that we know it today.
Early 2000.
Early 2000, yeah. So, and I got this all from Fred, right? But, I just had to say a few things. I mean, the PCZBA plays a vital role in the community, including variances and hardships and so forth. And Long Grove's been preserved because of the work that you and your fellow commissioners have done over the years. You think about it, we look the way we do because of that. And then also think about 30 years, what's all happened here in 30 years, right? It's amazing. Our population went from about 5,000 to 8366 today, or thereabouts, right, depending on what version of the census you use. Much of that's because of the new PUDs, and the one that I've lived in for 23 years was one of those in Indian Creek Club. There were two key developments that played a role right now of helping us not have to levy a property tax, and that's the Menards and the Sunset Grove development, and you play a part in that. And I'm not even doing justice to all of those, but without those two, major developments, we probably have a property tax today, right? And these thoughts barely touch all that you've impacted. I can only imagine how much of your personal time that you've given to this over those years. And I just want to thank you on behalf of the trustees, your fellow commissioners, and the residents of Long Grove for your service. And I'll let you have say something first, and then I have something to give you, too.
Okay.
Now, you have your speech.
I got my speech here. 30 years ago, when I was first started on the ZBA, I had dark hair. I was 6 feet tall and weighed 250 pounds. Look at me now. I'm still 6 feet tall. I want to say it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve on the Zoning Board and Planning Commission for the last 30 years. I want to thank all my fellow commissioners for their thoughts and expertise on the many issues that came before us. Commissioners Cole and Kansner, who have served about the same time I have, were valuable soundboards when we had some meetings that got out of control a little bit. A special thanks, and I wrote this before, I knew he was sitting here. A special thanks to chairpersons Fred Phillips and Helen Wilson for the leadership in OR meetings. They've been great, both of them. I want to thank to the village planners, some who are here, some are not, and the lawyers who are here, who always guided us in the right direction. I want to thank to all the village board that we work with, and they heard us, and most of the time they agreed with us. Only a couple of times can I remember they didn't. Finally, it's very kind and thoughtful of this village board in honoring those who served on the PCZBA. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. We have a rare plaque for
Spelled the
you.
name right, excellent.
So we got it right now, when you read this,
It's a
you'll
good thing.
understand that we didn't spell the name right.
No, that's okay.
That's okay, but congratulations,
Thank you very much.
and, I don't know if everyone wants to get up here, but, thank you. Thank you. Awesome.
Have a good evening.
Thanks for being here. Okay, so I have one more, recognition to do here, and it's Rachel Vargas, right? Is that right, Vargas? Vargas, okay, thank you. So, Rachel was recently crowned National America Miss Illinois. And, great. Yeah. And you will be competing, for the National American Pageant, for, what is it, Miss America, is that what it is?
Yeah, National American Miss, basically.
And so, and that'll be the week of Thanksgiving, right?
Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
And if we could just get a picture. Yeah, thanks for being here. Yeah, do you have anything to say, or you want to say it?
No, I'm just really grateful to be up here. It's always been my dream to come to the Village Hall one day with a title of my own. So I'm really grateful to be able to represent Illinois.
Well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations again. All right, moving right along, we have the homeowners associations that have been invited tonight, and it was Adrian Radsava from Oak Hills. Is it online or in person? What about Deb Gammon, in person or online? From Oak Hills too.
Kent, want to say something?
Oh, Kent, is that you?
Isn't that his neighborhood?
No, I'm actually Oak Hills number 5, also known as Oakwood Creek.
Oh, okay.
Got it. All right. So there's nobody here from the homeowners association, so now we have time for public comment. Does anyone have public comment? Ryan?
Yes. So first of all, I want to thank you guys. Obviously, we had a very successful Apple Fest. Our main season for the fest are officially over. I want to come to the board and discuss the SSA, kind of bring up the SSA, how the SSA was created and why it was intended. In 2005, the Downtown Business Association came together and brought together and got agreement from 100% of the property owners to create a tax, through the property tax roll, to operate and fund the marketing and branding of the downtown. They also, at the same time, suggested to do a 1% tax in the downtown for the village benefit. Well, today we're in a major situation. We're the first time in our many years we're actually in a negative number because the village has been holding back our property tax money. Unfortunately, because they did an amendment in 2020 where they have an agreement with the prior president that had some issues with the Downtown Association. So the trustees made a decision to amend the original SSA without giving formal approval or formal notice to any of the property owners in the village, in our downtown. And now we're in a tough situation that we're coming into the holidays. Again, we're requesting that the money be released. We've given you a certified financial audit, which is required by the state of Illinois, accepted by the state of Illinois. We've given you our budget, which also includes every line item. Because we're in a situation now to be fiscally responsible to cancel the rest of the year, i.e. the holidays and Halloween in our town, because we are running a negative number. And again, we fulfilled everything that was under the original SSA and more. Unfortunately, we cannot provide the detail that you guys want on this adjusted SSA. It's just not possible. One, we don't have the resources. to do it, to the requirements that you guys are asking for, that would require us to bring a consultant in and put something like that. We don't have to set the funds. We generate and do everything with $165 that puts on everything we do throughout the year. That 165 creates 600,000 for us and creates $1 million for us. Again, it's all based on Mother Nature, and it's really based on the 9 board members we have that get together, that generate out of their just goodwill to work for free, many hours a week, to make this town unique. You know, if we go to any surrounding town, their villages participate in giving a downtown. They give festivals, activities. We don't come to the village for that. We provide that to our residents. We provide that to our surrounding community. We provide that to the downtown. And we are in a tough situation now that the village is holding on to money that were put aside with property owners with the intention to use it for the marketing and branding of downtown. So I'm asking that you guys reconsider holding those monies back and release it so that we can continue the year and close out. And then next year, if we want to sit down as a workshop, I think our board and your board can sit down and really find out what could be done within reason, where it's not going to add a lot of expense, to see how can we amend the SSA if we truly want to find more information.
I'd like to say 2 things. Obviously, because I'm liaison to them, I go to most of their meetings when I'm helping. But they work so hard, day after day. They don't take days off. They don't take months off. They work year-round, and they work hard. So you have to respect them for that. The second thing is Ryan's talking about later in the year or the end of the year, whatever, to work on this agreement. I'd like to suggest that today we release the funds, and by a date certain, whether it's March 1st, April 1st, before all the festivals begin, before summer begins, let's sit down and make this workable for both of us. I think that that's where we can move on with this, and get them their money.
Now, I don't know, so we're in public comment, so do we want to debate this here?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So we want to debate this here, or do we want to postpone that till a little bit later? So, is there any other public comment that we have?
Yeah, I'd like to say something.
Okay, thank you.
I was a big part of getting the SSA together. We had basically 3 people that really worked hard on getting, I had to get Terry Upton to agree, which was really tough, and I brought him in, and he agreed to having the SSA put together, and it was quite a meeting in the basement of the village tavern with all those property owners, and we had 100% agreement. Now, the thing that we have this year is we signed a long contract with, to have carriage rides for Christmas. Those will go away, and Michael Todd, who's an interesting character, but he brings great ponies and great carriages to take people around town. And I never got a notice that this even happened, and I've been on the board. I had no idea this was going on. I didn't get a certified letter. None of the other property owners got a certified letter that this document was changed. And I just wonder how all this got unraveled and why all this is happening. But that's something that could be discussed probably in a bar somewhere. But I just want to say, I hope you come to an agreement where we can work together as opposed to being whatever is going on here. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other comments?
Yeah,
Jesse?
I won't belabor it too long, but, same idea, one of the newer businesses here. I've got locations started when we were in Buffalo Grove for about 12 years. We moved here and opened in 2017 with the first City Studios. Big part of that was the SSA, as far as like bringing the business in, we still facilitate that. And I was just, again, encouraged, I'm not sure where the situation sits, but as you mentioned, we are in a negative. We are in a situation where last year we were recognized as a holiday town, like in the newspaper. I think we were in the the top 10 or so of the holiday towns, and now we're looking at a possibility of that not happening. I'd say at the very least, I'd love to see all these funds released, finish this, and then hopefully look at it another time. But at the very least, to keep things going, we would need a portion of that while this is discussed at minimum. So just would encourage that.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Go ahead, Jeff.
I don't own property in town. I own a house in Long Grove, and I own a business in Long Grove. If we don't do up our town for the holidays, if we don't get the funding, it will crush my business to the fourth quarter. And I don't find that acceptable. That's it.
Thank you.
Me too.
Any other public comment? You please do.
I'm super confused here because we're being characterized as the bad guy. And I specifically remember we discussed this and discussed it twice. And I thought it was all resolved. What is it we're missing? What is it we don't have?
Are we having public comment, or are we talking about this?
Well, that's what I mean. So the question,
I would-
ask the question if we could either do it now or we can do it later, in the meeting, right? So if you want to do it now, I'll call an audible if everyone's okay. We'll talk about it right now. What do you want to do?
Should we see if there's any other public comments?
I did.
Other matters before we?
I did. There wasn't any. I did ask. So again, I asked online. I asked in person, is there any other public comment? I got the answer no.
If I can suggest that we close public comment, and then we can go to that discussion.
Okay, public comment is closed. Now let's talk about this. So
What are we missing?
we're missing the, report.
We're missing a program report. And if you want me to, I can give my view of facts and opinion.
Yeah, please do. I think
Yeah.
it's really appropriate.
So, the SSA didn't change. It's still like collecting from, from all of the downtown kinds of things. And then, because it comes through the village, it's our job to make sure that the SSA money is used for the purpose that you guys established it for, economic development and tourism in the downtown area. And I want to say thank you for the budget and audit and things. Those have been substantially improved. I also want to say I went through a lot of I think the proposal is that we accept 12 months of minutes as a program report. And I will say for myself, I find that falls somewhat short. We did have it in our minutes a year ago that might be an okay thing. They are good color for me. I think the thing is, how can you, and I don't think it needs a full consultant. I'll be real honest. I would love to work with you. I took 90 minutes plus I went through all the minutes, and then I took another 90 minutes, and I wrote an example. And it's basically like, what were the events? The main events don't change, right? Okay, what's the estimated attendance? How did you promote it? And then a couple of sentences on how does that connect? How do these plans, so we're not telling you what to do. We're just asking, how do these plans connect to economic development or tourism? So, no, I'm not, so how do we connect that? I will say, I am concerned. We have a fiduciary responsibility to at least get in the record that that's what happened. There is zero part of me that thinks that's not your intention. There's zero part of me that thinks you're not working hard. I think you've done amazing things. I think actually in the minutes, what I pulled together, I think there's things to that, like all the stuff you did on the park, somewhere in there, you have an assumption of what that's going to do for the residents and the businesses and the visitors. Even that, getting that into the record and saying, this is why we did that. Okay, we think that's going to improve the image, and that's going to, that's going to help drive economic development. That's going to make this a better place. Okay, when I went through the minutes, all right, you did an audible after Highland Park. I assume somewhere in there that made security expenses go up. That's the kind of thing to be able to just pull those things out of there and say, in the record, these activities that you did, I don't think it's a full-on consultant, okay, but connect that dot to $165,000, okay, money's fungible. You also get a lot of money in from gate revenues too, and if the weather's nice, that what goes well. If the weather's crappy, it doesn't go well. I've been there. You know, but some level of like, okay, how do these things connect, and what did we try? Okay, what was new? Somewhere in there, you had a thing, we had a goal of getting 10 sponsors. Okay, what did you get? I'm not gonna beat anybody over the head if the number's 2, but it would be helpful to actually put that in the record. You know, here's what we did,
Oh, yeah.
you know?
You're asking for an audit on every dollar.
No.
Five is the visitor.
No.
You're asking for every dollar that's spent for every.
No.
So are we focusing on the 165, or are we focusing on the, whatever that final number is at the end? That's what I don't understand. Because if we're looking at the 165, you've got the detail of the 165. That's how it's operated. You're asking for each festival. That's not 165.
I'm asking you to connect the 165 to economic development and tourism. That's all.
Again, our 165 goes to market, build a visitor center, staff the visitor center, build our website, do our social media. That's the 165. There is no money beyond that, Ann.
Okay,
That's where the 165
and then,
goes.
that's great. And so then on the social media, what happened? I can go in on your Instagram and it shows how many people, followers. Somebody can throw that in a report. I don't want to micromanage, but there's a level of, it's there. It's a couple of hours.
So the state certified audit for the state requirement, if that's sufficient for the state, how is that not sufficient for you guys? They look at, so just so you understand.
I can be overruled by.
Every invoice has to be accounted for on the budget you guys have, every
Yep.
single receipt.
Yeah.
So they're looking at that, and they have to have a third party, which costs us $13,000 a year to put this together.
Mm-hmm.
So the state accepts it, but our downtown village does not.
That's not the same thing.
It's
So-
money released.
So let me
Not the
ask,
same.
let me ask this question. So I heard, Ryan and the crew here saying they would work with us on that going forward, right? And to do a workshop. And somewhere in the middle, there's gotta be a way we could extract some of this information
This should have been
going
done
forward.
first time, Bill. I mean, this should not have been a handshake deal with the prior president and
but-
trustees here. That
but-
should have been done
but-
openly with us downtown.
But what I'm saying is
It was.
and I am hearing that there is a willingness to do
Oh,
that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
by the way, I would like to move forward and do more things versus like hand over money and then say, go do it. I'd like to work together. Like even the Highland Park stuff, okay? We have a role in safety in the village, okay? Crisis management, emergency, right? That's something to do, we could do together. What's your view on parking? What's your view on electric charging stations? What's your view on snow removal?
I talked to Bill, I talked to Bobby, I've talked to numerous, you've never called and asked that question. So when you say you have a view, then why don't you reach out and express that?
I will.
You've never done it.
Okay.
The times I have reached out, I don't feel I get a return.
Let's go back to, so I'm just gonna go ask, so there's been, this is a good dialogue, right? And we're always welcome into their meetings. Obviously, we can only have 2 of us at a time. And there can be other meetings aside, but the point of it is that, do we have enough information to get forward, to release the funds this time with a commitment that we're gonna work towards whatever? Maybe this agreement has to be amended slightly, I don't know, or maybe it's just fine, it's just a matter of figuring out how to make it work.
I feel, other people should talk, I will say, I share with Rita, when that agreement was done, I was not it came to the village board as part of an agreement. I thought that was a shoulder-to-shoulder conversation with the prior president, with the view of all of that.
Do you realize the prior president at the time was trying to abolish the SSA? Do you know that? That's what Mike was when he did that. He was trying to build community support to abolish the SSA.
Well, could we calm this down just a minute?
Yeah, well, I just wanna make, I will let everyone else talk, I wanna make one other comment though, just remember too, COVID, the first year of the agreement was COVID, so not a lot.
That I understand, yep.
And you have the second year, so this is kind of covering the second year, and then we should be getting a report for the third year next year, right?
So
Yeah.
I could say some more things, there's some other stuff we should figure out.
Yeah,
We do not currently have the ability, and that's the whole thing on how do we deal with the sales taxes that come from events? And that's been a big opaque thing in a lot of ways. And yeah, we could have other conversations. I know the village manager's been doing food trucks. Okay, how does that work? What is that, pros and cons? Absolutely. All right, I've done a lot of talking, and there are.
Talking, I was, Rita, you had something to
That's a
say?
valid question too.
Yeah.
I mean, we tried, with the previous manager, we tried working on that as well. I remember we had vintage days, and we lost some vendors because we leaned on them. We said, you have to give your information about, you know, your sales and all that. And we did that with everybody that was at vintage days. And some people pulled out because of it, but, this is definitely just a workshop thing. I think getting you the information from social media, I totally understand that. Over the years, we've had problems with social media people, and, we have, Jeff's, wife is very good at that, and I'm sure we're gonna be able to get you numbers going forward. I mean,
Again, the reality is our board changes every year. So we have to give deliverables that we can prove whoever sits in the seat to volunteer. It changes. We've had prior presidents that work very hard. So we have to get deliverables on the actual, putting the amount of time. Most of the people here, it's 15 to 20 hours a week that we're putting into this.
yeah.
With no revenue. I could be in my own office generating revenue. I'm doing this because I love the town. I want to see the town come back. When the rules change midterm, it's hard to continue, and that's the challenge we've got. I love the idea of doing a workshop in January, after the season's done. January, February, we're very slow. We can come together and say, how do we make it work? What are deliverables that are achievable? That's the key word, that we can provide that will work for both of us. If it means we're gonna have to hire a consultant or put man hours or hire someone to do it, that's the challenge, because we take from here, this goes away. We have years we can make money, we can have years we lose money. But again, we just wanna be able to put the best experience for all patrons and residents of the village.
Go ahead, you wanna say something?
Yes, and I'll be brief. And I want to echo Dan's comment. I know you work really hard, and you really don't get paid for it.
We don't get paid at all.
Very clear.
I know that.
We don't need
Like you
it.
guys.
I know that, and I hope that you enjoy it enough, that it is, I can tell it's a labor of love. It's fabulous. You know, you took it on, you did a fabulous job with the park. I get comments from people all the time.
We have like, all those projects are on hold right now. Our monuments are on hold because we don't have the financing.
Okay, so from my perspective, we discussed this twice, and I felt to remember that there was people changing the president, whatever. We're not asking for anything this big. We're not asking for $13,000. We need to feel secure because it's a fiduciary relationship.
Sure.
We have to account for it, and I thought this was resolved the last time we discussed it, because I remember you sitting in that chair and saying, it doesn't have to be monumental, we just need to connect
But again,
the
we
dots.
gave you the minutes, though the minutes weren't enough, so at
Well-
what point is the threshold there? Because
I-
those are our minutes. Okay, we have volunteers that do minutes. You have the minutes.
Okay, yes. We just need, for purposes of documentation, because if we die, and we don't have documentation, and it becomes,
You wanna get it
blah,
on
blah,
record.
blah, blah.
But-
Correct,
You want it on the
that's
record.
it.
If you looked at our budget, so I
I
gave,
looked.
so
I looked.
I gave that to
So-
Greg originally, back in March. It sounds like you guys never relayed that.
The budget, you mean?
The budget.
I never saw it.
I don't think I saw
It
it.
also
Yeah.
listed every check, every expense that we have.
We never saw that. I don't know why, we never saw
That
it.
was
This
originally.
is the last Friday,
Yeah, when I sent it out.
yeah.
I don't think you need that though, right? You're not.
I don't,
The budget was very helpful, there was a lot of information
You're
there.
asking for transparency.
Yeah.
That's transparency.
oh, it was helpful, we don't need every check you write.
Okay.
No, I-
Yeah.
We go
again,
we're starting all over. I think
No.
what they're looking for is, like, when you go into these, well, you could address this as far as getting, you know, how many people hit our website, all that kind of stuff, right?
I can
Yeah,
generate
I mean,
So,
reporting, whatever.
I mean, there's so much that we
required,
can't see eye to eye on this.
A workshop.
Yeah, we need a
So-
workshop, because I don't know what the heck anybody wants. I can give you all the information that you want, but you have to tell me what you want.
It is, it's realistic.
I don't want it to run it, like, word run it on a sheet of paper.
fellas, can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, I
Can
will,
we-
so,
Can we, from where I sit, I would be more than happy if we determine a deadline, a date certain.
March 1st.
By which the documentation, you say January, February slow.
So when we say documentation, before we
No.
can permit, we need to sit down together
So-
and say, what is real?
But let her finish, please, Ryan, please. She's going somewhere.
January, February, you say are slow, and that's understandable. So can we say, you know, that we would have this resolved, worked out, workshopped to death, whatever, by February 15th, February 28th, whatever.
I think
That
March
would be
1st, I
great.
think March 1st would be
Okay.
realistic.
Yeah.
January, February.
February,
Yeah.
switch over, yeah.
Okay, so is that comfortable to?
Yeah, I would be happy, I can share what I did 90 minutes worth already, and it's like, you know what your events are, you know how you promote it, don't, you know, like, hey, we did Instagram, we did, you know, check.
Right.
You can do that,
Yeah.
I know you can, because I could do it
So,
from your minutes,
help me with-
but I don't know your attendance.
Again,
And-
we don't have full attendance, I can't do that, I can't do that guarantee.
Well, we can give you guidelines.
We
There were like 40,000 people at that point.
You,
Yeah.
all I'm looking for, and again, there are 5 other trustees, but all Ann is looking for is something in the record that says, oh, our estimate was 20,000, and here's a comment, you know what? Day 1 was great, day 2, it rained, it was terrible. So, it's in the record.
We will do that. So, Ann,
So-
you provided
so-
that last year, and you said that was not.
So guys, so we were talking about a potential motion here, right? So I was talking to Vic about what we could do. So, perhaps somebody could make a motion to release the funds today with the understanding agreement that by March 1st, there'll be a workshop and an agreement to provide the required information that comes out of that workshop back to the board.
Yeah, product.
So moved.
That'd be perfect.
Okay,
I think
so,
that's
Does that
perfect.
work, Vic? I'm sorry.
yeah, he just,
Yeah, I think that's what just as a matter of clarification, I mean, the special service area was not changed except for the formulation of the taxes, which I got from Ryan. I'm looking at the email he sent me as to the language to be changed. That's the only thing in the special service area that changed.
Right.
There was an agreement that was amended, and that's what is the issue right now as to the required deliverables.
Mhm.
And the question then is whether or not that amendment needs to be changed, and if so, that's the workshop. But for now, the village is going to provisionally accept what we have. Not to say that it is acceptable under the current agreement, but merely that it will be accepted, the monies will be released, and that there will be a workshop effort to come back with a recommendation to the board by March 1.
And
Could you clarify, are we talking 165, or are we talking the full spending and revenue producing this week?
Well, the motion is really only to release the
Oh,
money.
no,
We only
I'm
have control
talking
over
the
one.
agreement.
The agreement, let me pull that back up.
yeah, I mean, it's, so again, that's part of the discussion, right?
I think that is the point of the discussion, but the agreement is really focusing on information to inform the village as to how those monies are to be used. And I don't, I mean,
I didn't get a
in my,
chance to talk when Rita and Ann were
okay,
talking.
in my
And this
review
is
of
a
what,
very important.
Go ahead, go ahead, yeah.
okay, in my review of what they sent us, their audit is of all the money. And
Right.
we don't need to have the information on all the money, but my guess is it's gonna be more trouble to take it from all the money to just the 165.
No, we
So,
used to do that, you guys asked for all the money. So we used to give you the 165, you said you wanted all the money, so we gave you all the money.
but we wanted to know what the program was.
But again, we originally gave you a full financial audit, so our
I'm
auditor
sorry.
would provide a one-page detail of the 165. You said it was not enough as a board, so then we gave you the full audit.
Right. Well, I just think that we can come to an agreement on this, and listening to, and what she wants, I mean, as far as, it's good due diligence to have this in the record, and I really think it would help us also to, I mean, we brought some new people on the board who have more of a, I don't know, it's like almost techie, to keep track of all this stuff, like you guys are gonna be great. We have a new addition, Jeff Taylor and crew.
We do discuss our work, we talk about it.
I know, but I take the notes.
So let me pull this back, go ahead.
I'm sorry, that is one of the questions that needs to be answered prior to a workshop. But, yes, I did make a motion.
You made a motion, basically, go ahead, to release the
To
funds,
release the fund and have,
Workshop.
a workshop between now and March first with a resolution to this agreement.
okay. So, is there a second?
Second.
So, all right, second by trustee, O'Connor, roll call, please.
Trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor. Trustee Jamil.
Aye.
Trustee Kritzmeyer. Aye. Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
All right, motion carried, thank you.
Maybe two workshops.
I would be good with 2 workshops.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
All right, thank you.
I don't always get it the first time around.
Oh, yeah, Ann's got some requests.
Yeah, my brain and my
Knuckle aren't, but
This is what I cobbled from your minutes. It's got a bunch of blanks.
Yeah, I think you had your motion about accepting this, the information we received.
Yeah.
I get it.
We're good.
Maybe,
We don't like that there was something that got back into the other three, that's the issue.
And that I don't claim.
This
I don't
is
claim that at
gonna be
all.
great, because
I don't claim that at all.
Mike Marr signed it.
I will be a better.
Thank you, everyone. Okay. All right, we're gonna keep ourselves moving. So we have a consent agenda.
no public safety reports.
Oh, public safety, there isn't anyone from the public safety organization here, so, I don't see anyone, so, correct? No public safety, so I'm gonna keep us moving. We have a consent agenda, we have the approval of the August 2023 Treasurers Report, we have the consideration approval of the special board meeting minutes from the September 7th, 2023 meeting, subject to non-substantive revisions, consideration approval of special board meeting minutes from the executive session on September 7th, consideration approval of board meeting minutes on September 12th, consideration approval of the board meeting minutes, September 12th, executive session board meeting minutes, consideration approval of an application for a license to conduct raffles from Country Meadows Elementary PTO, consideration of approval of an application for a license to conduct raffles at the Long Grove Park District on October 7th. The other one was on October 26th. Consideration approval of a resolution authorizing the UBS Financial Services, Inc. as an approved depository for the Village of Long Grove and authorizing and ratifying signatories thereof, or therefore. Ratification of the remand of the Long Grove Fire District Special Use application back to the PCBA from the last meeting. Consideration of an ordinance amending the 11-3-3 of the Village Code regarding speed limits on Checker Road and ratifying the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. Any discussion?
I'd like that separated out,
Okay,
the last item.
so you would like the 25-mile-per-hour one removed, okay.
And I have just a quick question for Vic on the remanding to the fire thing to the PCCBA. Which attorney shows up at those meetings?
It's usually Bob Pickrell.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so somebody want to make a motion to approve the consent agenda minus the item number 16?
So moved.
Second.
By trustee O'Connor, seconded by trustee Kritzmeyer. Roll call, please.
Trustee O'Connor. Trustee Kritzmeyer. Aye. Trustee Jamil.
Aye.
Trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Okay, then can we, aye, motion carried. Delayed. Keeping us moving. Can we move, then, consider, the other one we removed from the consent agenda, can we discuss that, or,
I just don't want to vote for it.
okay. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve?
Can I ask a question, by the way?
Yeah.
We did that, what did we approve for, because I drove the 25-mile speed limit. We've got a sign up on Schaefer, but not on Checker.
On Checker's 30 miles
Checker's
an
still
hour.
30, so did we approve 25?
We approved it, but we have to, per our village code, we have to actually formally approve a resolution to change it in our village code.
Okay, so the 25 is moving forward.
Right, well,
Check.
again, if you approve this resolution to ratify the decision we made at the last meeting, it will move forward.
Gotcha, okay. I move that we do that.
Okay, moved by trustee Kritzmeyer,
Second.
second by trustee O'Connor. It is a roll call motion.
Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor.
Aye.
Trustee Jamil.
Aye.
Trustee O'Reilly.
No,
Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you. Okay, something you thought we'd never get to, presentation on the plans for the Village Hall expansion by Wold Architects and Engineers. If you want to come forward? All right. Am I supposed to bring up your,
Oh, I got big paper. Whoa-hoo.
Shiny too.
But I got notes on my others.
Sure.
We'll keep one for Chris and,
The question is, where did I put it?
and Ken. Ken, we need one for Ken.
This one right here? Oh, here it is? Yeah. That it? There we go. Can I get rid of the header on this, yeah, I think I can, can't I? Well, is it good enough, or can I get rid of this, how do I get rid of this toolbar?
I have access to the documents that are in the board packet. I'm not sure if you're showing something other than that.
No, I haven't gotten that far yet, I just want to make sure that is this good enough to work with here, or?
No, that's fine. We'll
Okay, we'll make it work, okay, all right.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Bickle with Wool Architects and Engineers. I think the last time I was here was in May, when the board approved moving forward with the design for the expansion of Village Hall. I have with me Jonathan Wisnowski from my office as well. Since that time, we kicked off in June, meeting with the core planning group, which at that time was pulled together by Village Manager Jackson, and was comprised of himself, Jeff Perry, Dale Hamilton, and part of our trustee committee. We began then in June, in the design phase of moving forward with the detailed design of the Village Hall expansion. Things progressed a little bit slowly over the summer, and it actually kind of came to a brief pause as some of the transitions worked themselves out. But now that Art and Dana are in place, and we've picked things back up over the last month and made some good progress. So Art thought that it would be good that we came and kind of gave a presentation of where things are this evening. So you see on the screen and the first page of your packet there, it's just an overall site plan of the Village Hall campus here. One was to just provide this as context to refresh your memory of where the addition to Village Hall is going to go. So the kind of orangish colored box is the Village Hall addition. The L-shaped piece there is what is here today, right? So we are not demolishing or removing any portion of existing Village Hall. It will be an addition literally out the back of the building where Art and President Jacobs are sitting.
Keep going.
Just real quickly before we leave this slide, a couple of things I want to point out. So you will see that orange box where the addition is. It does impede on the footprint of the roof barn. So part of our discussion tonight, and I'll let Jeff elaborate more on it when we get there, is to talk about the plans for relocating the roof barn. One of the concepts being discussed is to relocate it across the wetland up near the schoolhouse, and so that's what this diagram is showing. We would also use a portion of that land up there to establish a new septic well field for the property, because the existing one will be impacted by the addition and is also in need of being updated and replaced.
So the barn would go right here?
That's what this diagram is proposing. We'll talk a little bit about, we'll talk more about that later.
This is the old schoolhouse right here, and then the barn would go here, and I think there's like an outhouse here or something, isn't there?
And again, this is just,
Yeah.
this is very conceptual, right?
The bigger rectangle.
Thing right here is
Right.
septic field.
Oh, I see, okay. Oh, got it.
That would be the barn, septic field.
Got it.
Do you have the paper one? Do you have the paper one?
Paying attention, she's paying attention.
If you want to go to the next slide, then, or go ahead one more, please.
Synchronized here.
So here's the overall floor plan, so closer in view of what focus on the previous site plan. So again, the large rectangle to the right side of that plan is the building addition. A new, what we're calling, sort of boardroom or after-hours addition, entrance will be constructed, right there off of the vestibule, so that would be directly, off of the parking lot here. So in the evening, when there were board meetings, public would be able to come into that space. There would be a formal public lobby with restrooms, and then you would be able to progress directly into the boardroom. The boardroom is being sized for approximately 50 persons, which we've talked about with the core planning group as sort of the optimal size. In the event that something larger in the village was going on that would warrant or anticipate a larger audience for a board meeting, then finding another off-site location if you needed to use that to accommodate so 50 was sort of a critical mass.
And it's 50 attendees besides the rest of us who always must be here.
50 audience members,
Okay.
correct. Yep.
And how many do we fit today? Yeah.
I think we have just about
Looks like about 30.
About 30.
So just 20 more, okay, yeah. With more space though, right?
With more space.
Okay.
The current boardroom, is actually the space that's labeled open offices, is 700 some square feet. The new boardroom is,
Yeah, you can't see my,
1,200 square feet.
So about
it's
50% more.
can't see? Yeah, okay. What you thinking?
No, just trying to think of where to go next. So, again, as I was mentioning, the existing boardroom space will be repurposed for staff office space. The existing main entry will be improved to create more of a public vestibule with a service counter. So as folks come in, there'll be a counter directly in front of them rather than having to sort of go around the corner. The staff will be seated such that they can, view that public service counter. So again, they won't be sort of hidden and obscured from visitors coming in to Village Hall. As we move back into the existing space, then what is currently the office space will become a new break room for staff. So currently there is, not a break room, so that space will be repurposed to provide a proper break room for them. And then the current office area where Margarita sits, building department, that will be repurposed as a small conference room space. The upstairs space, as you'll remember from our report back in last spring, is really not occupiable anymore. You have accessibility issues from the standpoint of there's no elevator, and the structure of the floor up there would require significant structural modifications to make that occupied space when we renovate the building. So the upstairs space will remain. We won't be doing anything with it. It'll basically just be an unoccupied attic space.
Does that present a liability, you think, just to let it sit that way?
No, not. So from an unoccupied space standpoint, it's fine. From the live load requirements that would be required if you were occupying it.
Thank you. Stairs, Bobby, really?
No, I think there was a concern about the weight limit of the,
Yeah.
that it could take.
Yeah, we wouldn't recommend that you're storing large archives of files up there,
I think we should just say it does not exist.
Yeah. But
Right.
I have an inability.
You will need it as interstitial space, there are, still going to be ducts or pipes or things that are running through that from a maintenance perspective. Obviously, if something happened to the roof, you'd want to be able to get up there to see it. So I wouldn't want you to wall it off and never be able to access it again, but yes, from the standpoint of it being, usable space, you probably have to consider it.
Well, presumably you can run new plumbing for the break room up through there and.
Yeah, right.
Kent, did you have a comment?
Yeah, when we met Friday, we were looking at a slightly different drawing. If you look at the open office area, the lower right corner, right above the words existing building. When we met Friday, we were talking about a higher wall for that corner area in recognition of the fact that the person who sits there will be on the phone a lot. There we go. Okay, that's the drawing I was thinking of.
On the next, yeah, this has got everything in context.
Okay, got it, thanks.
Are we there yet, or should we not
Well,
go?
and so for tonight's presentation, we did include all of these documents. Our plan was not necessarily to review in depth, each one of the areas of the building. This is more also just to provide, the background. So as part of our process, though, we have recently sat down with all of the Village Hall staff and talked through each of their areas so that we can understand their day-to-day, functional workflow requirements. So these drawings do start to capture, things like, what's going to be, available to them at their workstation, what type of file storage do they need, identifying, those types of things. That said, happy to answer any questions about these, and whether they were distributed ahead of time, so folks may have questions on some of the detailed, aspects of these users.
I sent some questions to Kent and Dana a couple days ago on just I don't know if this is the time, or, the executive session room looks like, executive session is 10 people. Does this actually fit 10 people?
Yep, so that was actually
Mislabeled.
a great discussion point, at our last core planning group meeting. So the truth of the matter is, previous concepts for the redesign had the conference room where the building department is currently as the lone conference room in the building. We did not previously have a space program for executive session. Our understanding was that executive session has historically happened in the boardroom.
It has.
We ran into a challenge as we were proceeding with the design, in that we could not find a way to ramp up to that space to make that a accessible conference room. And so to solve that problem, we needed to add an accessible conference room somewhere within the building. We found a way to squeeze it in to the building addition, and then we sort of discussed, well, that might be a good purpose for also an executive session. In our last meeting, we started talking about, well, what are the true requirements for a proper executive session meeting? I think we came up with 10 people was sort of the minimum occupancy there. So we are currently working on addressing that, and we'll be coming back to the core planning group.
And is the core plan, so maybe the question is, do we need an executive session room? We do need an accessible conference room. So it might be just the labeling, and that just, implies things to people.
Great question.
Where do people put their coats?
In the boardroom or in the office area?
In the boardroom on Tuesday nights.
Sorry?
We've got coats maybe that are in the lobby space on the left-hand side. You'll see just kind of indications of them if you were actually looking at the.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what those are? Okay.
And then what about the storage space here? Could something go there too?
So.
Tables and chairs?
Tables and chairs, access, items for the board meeting. One of the other things that will probably be located in there that we've just begun discussing with the core planning group is, relative to going forward, how the village intends to, record, meetings. We will probably end up with a small AV equipment rack in that storage closet that will, help facilitate that technology.
Absolutely would like to make sure we plan well for that. What's your philosophy on kind of windows and light in the addition?
Yeah, so we're gonna have some renderings coming up, in the packet here, to show you, but, the volume of the space is going to allow us to, have some, I believe, great natural daylight into that.
Can I ask another question?
Of course.
So this conference room here, can these walls be removable? To end up with more, meeting space?
Overflow space, you mean?
Overflow space?
The conference room on the other side of the break room.
This executive session room, whatever it is here on the screen, the executive session, so whatever we're calling it.
Two somewhat downsides of operable walls are, one, from an acoustic standpoint, they're just not as good as built-in-place walls. So you have to accept some compromise to that. The bigger issue is, though, that when they fold up, they don't fold up and disappear. They just take up space, and so somewhat
Yes.
inefficient. So again, it's something that we can certainly explore, and I think probably a little bit more understanding of what the criteria behind that is would give us some context to that.
Well, I was just looking at how much space you'd end up if you had a big,
Here's the other, maybe ask it the other way around. What would you suggest if we have a standing room only audience? Put a television and speaker in the lobby or the vestibule, or, I mean,
It seems like we could fit more chairs into that space. I see a lot of open space in the back. We could put another row, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, what we're depicting there is what we would say is, a comfortable layout, right? You could certainly have another row of chairs, you could certainly have people standing a couple rows at the back of the room as well, if needed. So, to say that 50 is a maximum occupancy, I probably would mistake it, that's comfortable, occupancy.
I can't remember how many times we've had more than 50 people.
all we need is,
That's kind of
all we need is a fire station or a temple and.
a fire station?
If you're gonna spend a whole lot of money for the elephant that might stop by, that's one thing, but to overplan just because you can, I think is somewhat foolish. We don't have that many people that often, that we should do a whole damn building, during it. One thing that I think is that during the winter weather, the coats and the boots and all the stuff that comes in here is just overwhelming. And I wonder if there's a way to get a dual purpose out of the executive session room. It's
a good idea to think about,
Yeah.
I think.
Because frankly, having books on the walls, that doesn't do it for me. And so if you could have a place that people could hang, their notes.
Right, I think the nice thing about the conference room, executive session room, whatever we're calling it off of the boardroom, from a board perspective, it does have it is a space for this group to land for the meeting. If you wanted to put your coat on, the back of the chair in that space versus any other belongings that you have with you, don't want to bring it up to the dais with you, right? It's a little less clutter perhaps. In terms of the public or the audience coming in, I think giving them access to that space, would maybe.
Well, it depends on the ultimate purpose.
Yeah.
There may be things that you don't want the public to, so it's a thought.
I think it's a fair comment not to plan for the elephant that might stop by. Thank you, Bobby. But I also think it's fair to ask the question of what if and what could be a cheap or at least a thoughtful thing to think about in advance.
I love questions. The questions are wonderful things by anybody.
Well.
You can still have double hands.
I'm just, plan for a television screen in the lobby or something like that, and then just say, okay, or extra chairs or whatever.
Or this wall opens up or whatever, so, somewhere, part of it opens up, so, I don't know. Okay, that's, in my opinion, that's not really important, but.
Any other?
What size is the screen gonna be?
Oh, great question, great question. We'll save that one if you don't mind. We have some depictions of it,
All right, you want me to keep going, everyone?
Yeah.
All right, so this we just saw already, right? Is this,
And this reflects what the staff wants because of the way they work.
Correct.
Okay.
okay,
I looked at them like it's not very collaborative, but I'm not the staff.
this, yeah, okay, so this is just, really basically the toilet area over there and then the village hall that we're sitting in right now.
That's correct.
Okay. Should I keep going?
Good. This would be the new break room then, and then
And that's that existing space in that old building over there. The Drexel Tavern, okay. And then you have steps up here, so the thing is, this is not ADA compliant, so that's why you wanted the other conference room over there? Okay. Because you at least have to have one conference room that's ADA compliant, okay, got it. But a break room, and you're planning, kitchen and dishwasher and stuff like that, or? Okay.
Was there, could you tell me your thinking on walking through the break room to the conference room, and why they aren't?
Well, because the conference room is not ADA accessible, that would then make the break room non-ADA accessible.
You gotta step up to get to that other room up there.
Oh, I see, I got you. Okay.
Well, and that's what caused us to, we can't fit a ramp in there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
It takes up too much space,
It
right?
just seems kind of indulgent to
Yeah.
have a toilet right
Yeah.
outside of it.
to go up 12 inches in height, you need 12 feet of ramp.
Wow.
So that is actually,
Oh, but the toilet is,
Yeah.
is in the hallway here still, right?
I know.
Yeah, okay.
I understand.
so we did
Yeah,
previously
got it.
have a concept that tried to ramp it, and then we realized that you were going to basically eat up all of that break room space with a ramp. Still didn't really work, so,
So I keep going?
almost good. That's kind of-
Tell me where I'm going. Keep driving? What's the next one?
Yep, so you see, again, this is back on the addition side, the new vestibule space. Within the addition, will be the village manager and assistant village manager's offices, but those will be secured by doors that, after hours, you can't get into the staff side of the building. And that flows right into that staff work area. So basically, the manager and assistant manager will be sitting with the village hall staff today.
In my comments or my questions to Dana and so forth, you've got the electric marked here, but we will need electric that works at our tables.
Yes.
Okay.
Just all this.
Is there soundproofing between these offices so that if somebody's on the phone, you're not sitting there and...
Can I keep moving? Hear the rattles? Okay, this is the main chamber, right?
Yep, and so the one thing I will point out here is that, again, you have, we've discussed that utilizing sort of a flexible table solution similar to what you have today, rather than a fixed in place, raised platform or dais, allows for the flexibility of this space so we can move furniture around and reconfigure it. But, so, space for 10 is provided at what would be sort of that dais or council table. But you'll see then we have, 2 tables to the side so that a staff table can, be set up, on the left-hand side there.
Are you suggesting we get new chairs too? I see chairs that have arms. Wouldn't that be nice for many
Well,
people?
Because you only have 30, and I know that we won't probably be able to match these ones, I would propose getting all new chairs.
With arms.
Well, could you keep some of them for spares, for overflow?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Upstairs.
Upstairs.
Oh,
Sorry.
They're pretty low.
Put it in the bar.
And so is the space here, like, so the COVID's kind of made us all want a little more space, right? So is this like a little space here, or is it the same size tables here?
They are the same size.
Okay,
But you'll provide masks on the, hanging on that little,
But there's 5 of them arced, so it's a little bit different, rather than 6 in a U.
you won't have staff sitting with you,
okay,
except,
all right. Well, and then, yeah, then you have for overflow staff over here, right? So, is that awkward, or is that okay?
The way we see it done on a lot of,
Okay.
with staff to the side.
And people who present.
Okay,
Yeah, that was the other question, where's a presentation dais?
Yep, so we will be, depicting the podium.
Thank you. Will they be able to control their own digital?
That is part of what is worked out. Our
Thank you.
scope of audiovisual is emerging, I will say, as all
Okay, keep it moving.
To tell us if we ask for something that's weird.
All right, I like those rocking chairs.
I like this a lot. Thanks, I do like.
Can I have one of those for the board president?
So, in our last
Gavel.
presentation to the core planning group, we also have started talking about materials and colors and textures that we envision as, you know, conceptually making our way into the
Bless you.
design. I'm gonna have Jonathan kind of talk through these a little bit.
So it's always exciting to talk about this stuff, because this is where we start to really give some reality to it and give you stuff to look at beyond the plan. So want to walk you through what we've gone through with the core planning group and give you a sense of where the direction that we're moving in. So going through the finishes, we'll have these boards. On the left-hand side, you're going to have an image that's not necessarily representative of anything specific in the building, but more as just a conceptual palette for what we're trying to achieve. Inspiration. Yes, exactly. So we know heritage and the history of the village is important, knowing the context of the existing building and how can we complement that with all the things into it. So we'll start on the exterior of the building. Obviously, there is white siding that is on the building currently. We've got cedar-shaped roof. So we're looking to continue that on into the addition and try to make the addition as seamless as possible. Like adding some additional accents and flair to modernize it to a degree, but again, respecting the heritage of white siding, cedar shingles, proposing the use of black window frames, nice dark entry door with some bronze hardware on it, and then black fixtures that would be similar to what's on the existing building. So that's kind of the exterior palette. Yes.
I love it.
Good.
It's such a great combination.
So moving on into the building itself, we'll actually start in the boardroom, and when we were thinking about the finishes, we were thinking about some important things to Village of Long Grove. One being, what is Grove? Grove is a urban street, and then Buffalo Creek. And that, and maybe trying to work that into it as well. So on the left-hand side, again, representation of how the carpet might look in the space. So we wanted to go with a carpet that was neutral, but started to bring in a little bit of blue to speak to Buffalo Creek. And then trying to use warm textures, natural textures, wood, and then some accent color through a gray, which again is still warm, but neutral color.
Wrapped beams would be a very attractive.
Yes, yeah. And we'll give you a little preview of.
Would that be a higher ceiling?
Starlight just going to, you know.
So we've looked at that as a potential, with the amount of windows that we're proposing, we're able to get a pretty good amount of daylight into the space.
We'll keep going.
A grouping for the office space, so we want to make the space feel kind of homely, so people are comfortable when they're at work. Left-hand side, again, showing overall palette, but specifically the carpet that we're looking at using in that space, and trying to bring in an additional accent color, kind of a sea rose red color into that space. And then for the furniture, proposing kind of tone for that furniture in that space, and white countertops for high contrast. We would also be suggesting new chairs that would go along with that, and then some nice light fixtures too.
What does NIC refer to in this?
Not in the contract.
Oh, okay.
Some cases, the furniture package would be.
Thank you.
It all seems so bright and bright. I mean, the essence is like,
Yeah, and there's some good colors that are in the existing building, but again, building off of that.
Keep this going?
So this is the concept for the brick room. So again, having a little bit of vibrancy, but not going too far overboard. The left-hand side is just, again, color palette. So looking at dark blue for the casework, soft surface tops at the counters, using the LVT, which is a nice resilient flooring like this to, again, give it a little bit of warmth. And then little pops of color through brass hardware, and then.
I shouldn't say this, but, you know, it just reminded me, can we get rid of the attic over the break room, vault the ceiling, but that's probably a major project, so forget that. I understand there's a hole in the floor, but you can look down right now. Yeah,
It's got a grate on it, though.
yeah, got it. All right, well, keep us going?
Yep.
Shut up.
So, all that to be said, we want to put together some renderings so you, again, get an even more sense of what this could look like. So, what you're looking at here is the addition portion. So, to the very left of this, just off screen slightly, is the existing building, this phase of the building here. We'd be adding on to the east there. So this would be the new entryway. We've got that dark door that, again, signifies an entrance, but we don't want it to be too overpowering, because again, you're still gonna have a daytime entrance that would be to the.
We need to have that thing where we have to have the actual printed public notice of, we need more than one of those by the doorway?
There's a bulletin board out there.
Yeah, we need to have one thing which is gonna be visible outside. I think we have that kind of, case
So, yeah,
like.
so it'll stay on that, we'll maintain that there, people won't be looking.
Right, that would be not this entrance.
Okay.
That'd be the other entrance, the existing entrance.
This,
Okay.
where do we put the holiday decorations? Wait, no.
So this is moving into that lobby space that we're talking about. Folks would be on the right-hand side of this initially. This is actually looking back towards the entryway that we just walked through. So to the left, our secure doors going into the office is on the right-hand side. But this is our first look at kind of that interior space and trying to bring in some of those wood tones, having really vaulted space with some essentially faux beams in that area, but again, trying to tie in all the towers together.
The lighting's great. Yeah, the lights. Places.
So, and this is obviously there's a height limit with that here too, right? Well, maybe it'd be this tall, or how tall will the ceiling be?
So in that particular area, I think we were at 14-ish.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that would be at the top of the vault.
Because that's all new. That's the new part, that's the new part.
Yeah, so there's a dormer on the existing, so the dormer is actually above the vestibule, that entry vestibule. This is just inside, but that roof line continues back into the boardroom space.
Oh, I see inside here, okay.
Yeah.
And we're able to do that even though there was a concern about the snow and the roof lines and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
we're actually able to match the roof line.
Okay, got it. All right.
So, you're routing parking spaces. When the 50 seats are filled with 50 bodies, where are you going to 25 cars?
So we are actually not impacting the current parking lot, with this, but your point is a good one, right? So, we've talked about, parking lot is going to need to be addressed, at some point. Just its current condition is, it's at the point where it needs to be addressed.
We call it grinding pit.
Yeah. The reality is that the construction activity, will do no favors to your parking lot, so it's best to hold off until after the construction is done to put your help to, improving the parking lot, and I think we'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you can say it. Sure.
I have two things. One is, I overall overall, I love everything you're doing. The only thing that, if there isn't anything that refers back to our heritage, our history, something, not just old, but something that's long growing. Whatever it is.
What would that look like to you, Bobby?
I've been thinking about that. I know it if I see it, but I.
But they don't read minds.
We have tried so hard to resist the knee-jerk reaction of incorporating a bridge or anything, you know.
Yeah. But I need to think about it, what I really mean. I don't know if it's art on the wall, fixtures on the ceiling. I don't know, but I know that it's lacking.
I wonder if there's some opportunity for outreach to the community, that local artisans or something.
Yeah.
Put a mural on the wall?
Yeah. The indoor lobby area would be,
Definitely leave some space there.
even for rotating.
Well, it's like those of us who have been around for a long time, there's a little piece of heritage that most have forgotten, and that's Drexel. Drexler, he lived here for years. He had a house outside, and so that's what I was thinking of, was old things that meant long growth, and that was Drexel.
Okay.
But that's one thing. Okay, the second question is, what does this board do during construction?
Great question. And again, it came up a little bit during our last core planning group meeting. So the intent is, really for the addition to be constructed while Village Hall operations continue to operate out of this side of the building. And we will not poke through that wall until we absolutely need to make that connection. Once that side is done, Village Hall operations would temporarily sort of work out of that side of the building while we came back in here and did, cutting stuff. So during the initial phase, this space would remain uninterrupted. During that second phase, where we need to occupy that building for Village Hall operations, or do the work here, I believe that it would probably not, it would make the boardroom not usable for board meetings during that period of time. So, we talked that there might need to be a plan to find an alternative location for board meetings for some portion of the project.
Right.
Like meeting, yeah, like Harbor Chase. You know, they've got that dining room that we
Sunset has space.
Yeah, correct,
Mhm.
yeah.
The other possibility, it's not huge, but it's probably about the size of the room right now, is the Reed Turner Woodland Nature Center.
Yeah, so there are choices, where we can go.
We could probably even talk to the school.
Yes, yeah, that too. That's a good idea.
So let me ask another question though too. So, reforming of this room, could that be done while that space over there is still in use for office space? So
A little piggy move up, you thinking?
yeah, I mean, you kind of move things around a little bit, and then you still have, there's a conference room in there, and there's gonna be 2 offices in there too, right?
Correct.
You might be able to jury rig it in a way where there's a limited of time where this is not in use, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do think though that starting now to put in place at least a contingency plan, even if
Right.
we are to figure it out, just knowing ahead of time that we have a space that we could go to if we needed to, even if it's for this one meeting because of some overlapping construction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus,
And those 75 people might become.
That's right.
that might be and it might cost money to get that level of convenience too. We want to understand the trade-off.
Good.
At least in my view.
Oh, yeah, the chatterbox can't find a way.
Oh, boy. All right, so where do we want to, because,
So this looks nice. Looks like some additional detail was added since our meeting last Friday, but this looks really nice. I like it.
Really nice.
Did Bobby ask how big the screens are? Is that your question?
Oh, I did ask that, he said later.
Yeah, so you can see here,
But there'll also be one to the side, so those of us sitting up front can actually see the stuff without turning 180.
So we'll have two behind you, being, one could be presentation, one could be somebody on camera, if you just have a remote. And then there will be a display up to the side so that you don't have to turn around. That would be across from the staff table, so this is
Gotcha.
the audience member seated towards the back, maybe couldn't see.
Okay.
So, that's kind of it for our portion of the presentation. I just wanted to kind of give a couple other updates. You can leave this up there for a moment. So we are in the process of updating our construction cost estimates, to reflect, where we are in the design. So as soon as we have those, we'll be sitting down with the manager and to go over that and give an update as to where we think we stand. Schedule-wise, our original intent was to, get this out to bid over the winter so that we can start construction sometime in 2024. However, we're still on track to be able to do that. However, before we can really do any work here, there has to be a decision made and then action taken as to what's going to happen with the required relocation, which is probably a little bit of a segue to what Jeff Perry's going to share with the group.
Is there anything we didn't ask that we should have?
Great question. We've gotten great feedback from staff. So I love the comments about finding that thing that's going to be sort of the signature Swan Grove element to this. The story about Drexler got my wheels spinning and how we could do that.
He was a big orange cat, he was loaded with personality.
I think, still trying to push the envelope a little bit on how can we make this space as flexible as possible and accommodate, sort of your overflow situation. So, no, I think you asked great questions.
Is the vision for the village manager office, I don't want to use the word grand, because, I don't use grand office, but is it a space that is befitting of the village manager? Like, if I walk in there, would I know that I'm talking to the guy in charge?
The lady in charge.
Person.
Much better.
Went back a couple minutes ago. It is a,
It's roughly 10 by 20, right?
yeah.
But, it's got a little puny window there that looks out on the bathroom window. There's no, and I suppose it could come in time, where this was a courtyard, and maybe that window could be a door. But then,
Is that what you're saying?
Actually, what concerns me about a door is break-ins, but we have a security system, so.
Yeah.
But, it just looks puny, and maybe the storage space could be made a little more, I'm just curious. We're interviewing soon, and if the building is up, it's like, here's your office, and it's like, really?
Well, Art, what's your thought?
Well, Rita, they've got a little table in here, a little conference table, and you got that plus your regular desk and chair, you're good.
So what does the person do with all their stuff? I see
There's plenty of,
I see a little cabinet here, and maybe that's a coat hanger over in the corner.
I think most managers would be fine with that.
Now
So
that,
it is,
That's,
it's comparable in size to the manager's office upstairs.
Well, that is,
that's not the that's not the
High
ruler.
ceiling, but regular ceilings all the way.
Not the ruler.
200 square feet's a pretty big room.
it's
it's,
I'm thinking of, you know, if the developer comes in here and.
So I think a lot of that will be addressed by the level of furnishings and decor in the space, and not so much the size of the space.
Okay.
I think a lot of people would walk into a large sort of vacuum of space and say, well, this is, I mean,
Well,
we
yeah.
could have gotten, we could, you know, this could have gone somewhere else.
That's right, where's the putting green?
I'm not, you know, looking for a great
Yeah. You know, I have seen offices that err on the side of being too large. And I think that this is an appropriately sized office for,
Rita, I've been in larger offices and they seem inappropriate, and why do you have all this extra space? It's just,
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not, right, my goal isn't to waste space, it's just, is it appropriate?
yeah.
I think maybe
somewhere
also,
between 200 and 220 square feet is where we typically program a village manager's office.
Okay.
I would think also, you know, again, you could, with the furnishings,
Sure.
the executive conference, that conference room or whatever, you know, that could also be when the village manager needs to meet with 5, 6 people. So,
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That's a great question.
Yeah, maybe not, so.
Yeah.
plus now that Jim Hogue retired, we don't need as much storage room for paper.
Oh, geez. So what other things do we need to talk about tonight on this? Yeah, oh, yeah, there you go, Jeff, okay,
Barn.
Yeah.
the barn.
Okay, the Ruth Barn, so, there was a memo that was circulated earlier today. If you don't have any copy of it, I do have a couple printouts here.
Can I have a copy of it? Because if there was, I mean, there was
I have a copy also.
50 emails today. There's no way I could keep it.
It's my battery goes
Going down past.
Maybe I did print it.
So the memorandum, has quite a bit of information in it, and I'm going to, very succinctly, summarize it. So, there's been 2 options mainly, for locations to relocate the Ruth Barn. One being over by the Historical Society building that's, right off the Stemple parking lot. And then the other is, just recently been discussed, move it up north, across the creek, ditch, whatever it's been, referred to as in the past, over next to the, Archer School. So, moving it, downtown to the Stemple parking lot, you know, there's 2 main options. One, put it on a flatbed truck, or lowboy is what it's called, move it down there, or take it apart and put it back together. Pros and cons to each one of those, and, ironically, the cost for both of them, we've, done our research on that, and they both come up to about $100,000. Picking it up and moving it, the real cost is not, putting it on a lowboy and taking it downtown, but it is temporarily relocating all of the overhead service lines that, feed all of the buildings, because it's going to impact all of those. I mean, the cost to both relocate all of those is, a little over $50,000. And that's just the ballpark estimates on that. Once, you know, the village elects which route to go, we'll get detailed estimates and costs on that, so hopefully they are $50,000 like these utility companies are telling us. Taking it apart and, putting it back together, that's a little bit of a labor of love and needs to be done very carefully, so you don't end up with a lot of spare pieces, broken pieces, things of that nature. Reached out to, Carmichael Construction, who's been doing the work on the bridge, who, loves working on historic things. They gave us a very, detailed cost of $101,864.
And 23 cents.
Don't remember the cents, but,
Kidding.
it's pretty, yeah, exactly. So we've reached out to a couple other contractors, but they haven't, we haven't found any that want to provide us a price on that. Probably, you know, some of the things that could go wrong, maybe scare them away, maybe they're just not interested, I don't know, but we'll continue to seek that, but I would imagine the cost will come in relatively similar to that. The other option is to relocate the barn, up by the Archer School. Now, that would involve, crossing the creek and weighing the different options and, ways that can be done. I don't know if anybody's familiar with, ComEd's operation. They're working in a wetland, they put down these big, they call them timber mats, but they're like oversized pallets, is really what it is. And, you know, putting those on the wetland, put the barn on the flatbed truck and move it across there would be the preferred, way to do that. Would involve, getting a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers to do that. I've talked to, the village's wetland consultant on that, and, you know, that is a permit that has been obtained in the past from the Army Corps, I would say relatively easily, because it does take 4 months to get that. But the cost to do all of that and remove and relocate the barn from here to a couple hundred feet north is, roughly $50,000, so about half of that. We did look at ideas, hey, can you lift the thing up with a crane and move it over, but you're restricted with the boom length on a crane, so, you need a very, very large crane, and, you know, the soils over here, I don't want to put a crane there, because we know that they're soft. You know, risk dropping it or something like that, which would not be good. Looked at, taking apart and moving it 200 feet, but, again, that cost is gonna be very comparable to what, I just mentioned with, moving it downtown, because the real cost of doing that is not, you know, taking the pieces from A to B, it's, you know, the care that's needed to take them apart and put it back together. So, you know, that said, I mean, you know, cost-wise, that option, relocated up by the Archer School is the most cost-effective. It does involve, you know, 4 months of permitting through the Army Corps, but as, Matt Bickle mentioned, you know, starting construction in the spring, it allows time to, work through that permit, and it actually works out better if you want to do that work over the winter when that ground's frozen. So, if that location is acceptable by all, I would recommend pursuing that.
Right.
How much is it in total?
50,000, it was, the quotes we got were anywhere from 46 to 75.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so moving it on Village Hall property costs half as much, and it has fewer risks. Really, the only risk is the permitting time from the Army Corps, approximately 4 months. So that means we would not get the permit, even if we applied for it today, we wouldn't get it until late January, maybe early February, considering the holidays. And then allow time for moving. So really, from what I see, we don't have any time to spare. We really need to decide this and move forward. And option 3 seems like the clear winner, because not only does it cost half as much, but it has far fewer risks.
A lot of sense. What is
Barn, I'm sorry,
it? Go ahead.
barn is not on a foundation, correct?
They
Yeah,
said
it's like-
piers.
Well, we call it brick piers, but yeah.
So that part's no biggie. And, you know, it seems to me that if you put it over where the Historical Society building is, you're taking up space that could be a revenue-producing lot 3 or 5 or 7 years from now. To put it here, to me, it seems like a much better spot, because you've got the little school, Village Hall, barn, and it's easier for them, if they ever renew the docent activities, it's easy enough to bring the children over.
Right.
So,
Everything's in one place.
right, yeah.
That makes
You know,
sense.
to make it like a little campus sort of thing here, and that could all be enhanced by landscaping that maybe our citizens who are in the Scenic Corridor Committee could help with. You know, it could become a community project, which would be really nice.
Jeff, did you mention you would frame the the existing barn, and before it would moved over, you would reinforce with some?
Yeah, it's in the memo here. Some contractors have looked at moving it, say that it's in pretty good structural condition the way that it is right now, but they would put some bracing on it, so that way even moving it 200 feet, brace it, so that way it can, withstand the move.
It seems like it would make a lot of sense to have it by the school, like, in terms of,
Yeah, I think the campus, idea is nice on that one.
Right.
I think it's also, I haven't decided where I land on this, but I do know that this is a village-built building. It belongs to the people of Long Grove. It belongs to the Historical Society and those of us who, treasure the history of Long Grove. And so I think that whether it's the Historical Society or it's input from someone else, because Historical Society, and I also think it would be really neat if it sat over next to the farmhouse that was changed from Buffalo Grove to that site. It just would be, a special appreciation of historical buildings, and they don't have to be great buildings. And so I think they have to have an input. This is not our decision exclusively. And boy, that air conditioner.
It's loud, yeah.
Doesn't sound.
Something didn't sound good there.
Yeah. And so I think they should have an input. And at this point, I haven't heard who's paying. We're paying? Okay. The Historical Society and the people that they associate with are great fundraisers. And if there was a passion to move that next to the, farmhouse, they'd come up with the money.
Jeff and I were talking about that this afternoon, that it is their building. I would really love to see it be a community thing to, one, help with the expense, but more importantly, to maintain the building, so that.
They do a great job of maintaining the farmhouse. They, but they not that. Well, they do take care of it. It's just.
So one of the things that hasn't happened yet, right, is that we haven't really had a good conversation, right, Kent, with the Historical Society?
Right.
That's what we gotta do, right?
So keep in mind, if we were to move it, we have to deal with ComEd, Comcast, AT&T, the business owners downtown, as well as the county to get a permit to move it down the road. Any one of those 5 things could shut this down and our project stops. Not to mention it costs twice as much. So potentially there's a fundraiser. How long does that take? No guarantee they're going to raise enough money to cover the extra 50,000. I believe we're taking on great risk by going that route, as opposed to putting it next to the school. So you've got a campus there with the school and the barn right next to each other. Very little risk, and we can move forward with our project.
So I don't know that it would delay it. They
So-
could just cooperate.
So I think a conversation has to be had first, right?
I have a comment. I think if we are paying for it, that the decision is ours, and I think we would be very well served making sure there's a good conversation as input, and then discuss opportunities. I also do think the Army Corps of Engineers, I'm sorry, this is not a political question, but the Army Corps of Engineers, our government may shut down. We may have to have another month built in there.
Well, we can't deny the Historical Society.
Correct.
Yeah, they,
Well, and
part of the
let me
conversation.
just throw another idea out there. So there's this thing about, it'll take a while to get all the permits and everything. If they want to fundraise, couldn't we just move it off to the side for a little bit, in the corner there, have it sit there until they're ready to move it? In worst case, if that doesn't get done, we just put it back there, right? So,
That's what was done with the farmhouse.
okay,
They brought it here, they didn't have the money yet, and then they started the fundraising, and then they put it together.
It would have to sit perhaps a whole nother year to find another winter.
Either that, or you might be able to move it across the creek if that's what eventually happens in the summer. You know, winter and summer is the driest time, so that's when you would want to.
so it could be something temporarily that could be done, so, okay.
What is the winter on record?
Okay, so so who's got the action item to get to the Historical Society? Who's gonna do that? Is that,
I will,
you will? Okay.
yes.
And we'll have
I
Art?
was president for a long time.
Okay, got it.
Should Kent be part of that, or?
It's fine if Kent's part of it, and if
Sure.
Art's available.
Everything
Yeah.
on this, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can participate as well.
okay, excellent.
I have a
So that's the
question.
next act.
Yeah, I have a question
Go
for
ahead.
Jeff. We're also planning on constructing the new septic field in the winter. Can the moving of the barn and the construction of the septic field occur simultaneously?
So, yeah, just go back to the first slide there, just kind of as a visual. So we had the barn would be the left, box, 30 foot by 20 foot, and then the septic field, the conceptual size is 60 by 30. We'll get some more detailed measurements on that. It's, as you may remember, very much larger than what's here right now. Can they happen simultaneously? It's going to depend on the detailed design of the septic. Ideally, you would want to put the barn in first and the septic second, but
Okay.
you can phase around it because that might not be the case.
Okay, so that further emphasizes we need to get that barn moved somewhere as soon as possible. And if it ends up being next to the school, then the longer we wait to do that, the longer we'll wait to do the septic, and everything just gets pushed back. So this is something we need to be very purposeful about. So I'm available along with Bobby. I think it was, I think I heard that it was Bobby and I both who will talk with them. So I'm available anytime to talk with them.
Ideally, Jeff and Matt, when, to get this moving as hoped, when would we need to have a decision on how this is gonna be moved? What would be your window that we should, besides tonight?
You had a decision by November?
15, first, 30th?
I couldn't hear that. What was that number?
End of October,
End of October, so.
that's what we heard,
So
the ideal, trick or treat, Halloween.
figure this out, and we have 2 more meetings scheduled between now and then.
So if you take the end of October and add 4 months, now we're at the end of February. And if you throw holidays and potential government shutdown, now we're into some part of March. And then we need to actually move it. That takes us into potentially April. What does that do to our construction schedule?
We need to have a conversation with them, though.
If there's a plan in motion that would get you toward a April moving, right? So you move on a parallel path to get your construction bids in. You know, they'll have to go through, obviously, getting contracts awarded and getting shop drawings submittals put together, and aren't going to be able to mobilize really any earlier than sometime in May.
Okay.
Spring weather and getting frost out of the ground and all of that stuff, so I think
Okay.
that we can line up not too far off.
October 24th will be the second board meeting, so. we
Okay.
need to have the board decide then.
All right, so
That's
what
good to
else,
know.
what else do we need to get done tonight on this? Are we at a point to stop?
Could I have one more?
Please.
What happens to the garden?
Well,
There's a huge garden out there.
Yeah, it goes, well, I guess there's no, I guess it has to be moved if we wanna keep it, right? I don't think anyone's using it now, are they?
I don't think they attended it this year, but it's been there forever.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Who's the they?
That's why I was
The
thinking about.
historical society.
Well, that's another question for them, right?
Yes, yes. So they would have to move what's in it.
Plants, right?
If you're in a barn.
If there's something perennial, then yeah.
If there was.
Oh, no, of course it's
If
perennial.
there was a landscaping plan ahead of time, they would know where to move them. You know, that's why I'm talking, if they work with the scenic corridor committee people,
But
it might be a,
Should I tell
you
me to get on the
know,
Zoom?
a common.
But I think that there's
We're not
a
ready yet.
timing
We've got a
window that
couple
you're
more
getting
things
at. I
to
mean,
do.
you're either gonna have to transplant it
Can you talk to
now,
them even
just
maybe in like
because of
10
the
minutes?
plants,
Right,
Possibly?
or you may have a chance with some of them to transplant them in the
Yeah.
spring, but that's not always the best time to be
Correct.
doing it.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So that's
Better
a
now.
condensed window to have that conversation with the historical.
I'm just saying that both of us are going through it,
Uh-huh.
and can we avoid that? But that's right, that's kind of, they need to attend to that.
And maybe the garden club people, you know, why
They
don't,
work
why
with
don't
them.
we get as many people as possible?
But that seems to be an immediate conversation
Well,
Yes.
with those groups.
a lot of them
Yeah.
are retired.
Yeah, if this, then that, yeah.
Is there anything else to talk about this right now? Because we've got 15 minutes until we turn into pumpkins.
I'm not sure what we need to approve. I mean, do we say, oh, I like this?
So what do we do tonight?
I would
This
be in
just-
favor,
are-
I would be in favor of option 3, but I think we absolutely need to have a
Oh, no.
conversation.
No, just so do we want to, I guess that's the point, but per Bobby's point, do you like what you see? Can we
Yes.
proceed going forward with this, right?
Yeah, I like what I see on the building. I've already asked my questions. You guys have those. We need to figure out the roof farm.
All right.
And could we take a straw poll for what to do with the barn?
Do you want to do it right now? I think you need to talk to the Historical Society
I
first.
mean, just among us, and then.
All right, so who wants to move the barn by the school over there?
I would.
I would.
Okay, so everyone wants to do that.
Yeah, but,
So just take the cart before the horse.
well,
Yeah, it's all subject, I think your point is that it's still subject to getting the conversation going.
Kind of insulting to say, well, tell me what you think. I've already decided, but tell me what you think.
No, so I'm with you about talking to the Historic Society, and the fundraising's a great point, so.
I absolutely think that conversation must be had, and there may be things, knowing what I know right now, and assuming we foot the bill, I would say option 3, okay? But those things could change.
Yep.
There may be other things the Historical Society brings up that others didn't think of.
So, all right, so we're at a good point to stop then. We like what we saw, right? We gotta figure out what to do with the barn and the garden. Pardon? Garden sale, there you go. No, perennial sale. So I'm gonna move us on if we can, is that all right? Yeah? Okay, everyone's in agreement with that. So the next thing on the agenda is the village planners report, and I would ask for an abridged version, except for the discussion on Osage, because there's been 2 gentlemen in the back of the room that have been waiting for this, although we already spilled the beans on some good news, so if you can go quick, it would be awesome.
All right, well, engineers reports in the board packet, move to number 1 on the report is the Osage Road Drainage Project.
And we're skipping this
The,
one.
thanks to, President Jacobs' assistance and persistence by, Manager Ostin, we got, North Shore Gas to locate their gas main that was unlocatable yesterday. So, we met with the contractor out there earlier this morning, just to finalize the scope, the work, any questions that they had. And they are, organizing their forces to be out there early next week to do this project and just kind of recapping some prior discussions. Putting the pipe in the ground is a 1-week project, and then doing all of the final, ditching, restoration, things like that is another week. So we're still looking at a 2-week project, obviously weather permitting. So we'll get a revised, construction notice out to everybody, the residents on Osage, just to alert them of the project. The contractor is, still working with the residents to, hopefully get, some sort of a partnership, you know, the village contractor doing the work, the resident paying for it, but, to replace their driveway culverts, because a lot of those are, you know, 8-inch pipe culverts, and as we discussed at previous meetings, you've got all those upstream, and then you put this big 24-inch pipe in, well, the water has to get there somehow. So, those discussions are still ongoing, so we'll, I'll keep, the board updated as, those unfold.
And if I may, you're recommending nothing more than 12-inch for those culverts?
Village code is 15, 12-inch will be an improvement over the 8-inch. So, you know, regrading to put the 15-inch in there would be ideal. Like you said, there's, other constraints, you know, slopes of the ditch and things like that.
Most of the residents are asking, so if they need to get a permit, it would be for a 15-inch culvert?
So what's the process? They have to individually go get permits, but it would be the contractor would offer to, you know, basically do the economies of scale to do everything all at once?
Correct, there would have to be a permit then. Yep.
How quickly can we get permits, because that can.
Yeah, is there, yeah, how can we do
And,
it like
and
that?
if you look at the building report, you'll see we like had a record month with number of permits, right? So is there any way to expedite it, or?
That might be a
Yeah,
staff job,
it's,
staff question. That might be a
Sorry.
staff question on, can we expedite the permits to make sure that all of, any resident who wants to have the contractor do their culvert?
You can try it, just kind of cough hard.
Well, so maybe prep Mundaline, we prep
Yeah.
Margarita,
Yeah,
Jeff's already prepped, these guys are, you know, Jim's already talking to the neighbors right on Okeechobee.
we don't wanna make that snag
Yeah,
onerous.
well, so, but let me ask another question, the pipe can go in, but it won't be effective unless these other things are done, right, or it'll be less effective.
It'll be less effective, correct.
We talked to the contractor about touching base with all the property owners there and asking.
They have.
But they're gonna have to do permits. How do we as a village make
Oh,
that
sure,
easy?
yeah,
So we're
okay,
saying,
yeah,
can
the
you
answer
like,
is yes,
can
yeah.
somebody grease the skids so that we know that that's got a priority? 'cause
You
it's
know
all-
anybody?
A few people, I know a good
I think
attorney
it's
that
somebody
can.
that's sitting right there, but.
Well, can the people who are interested all apply for one giant permit?
Well,
It's different,
yeah, like,
but I,
turn it around the other way. How can our staff make this as easy and quick as possible?
Correct, yes,
they're basically top of the list kind of thing.
yep. Other questions you guys have?
Enjoy our meetings.
So, okay, so it's getting done, which is good, so, thank you for your patience.
Just two real quick things, the road maintenance program construction is getting underway, had a little bit of rain last week, so that got delayed. Didn't have it in the, engineer's report, but, one thing that is going to happen as part of the project is there's going to be a detour, and Robert Parker Coffee Road closed, at the intersection at 83, because that needs to be, reconstructed over there. And just kind of stepping back, that's why that wasn't done last year, because we had to get IDOT's approval of the work and the detour. So we're looking at, the contractor's looking at doing that work, October, the week of October 9th. So, we're gonna get that confirmed and get notices out, because, you know, there'll be detour signage, but yet, you know, let everybody know that that's coming up, and that will be an impact to,
Yeah, we should pull that, if there's any
traffic
questions.
flow.
Yeah.
There's not any minor festival scheduled that weekend, is there? 'Cause that's Columbus Day weekend.
But there's, the Prairie State Half Marathon's coming up this weekend, but when are you saying you're gonna start?
October 9th is the.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
Closure, yeah.
Actually, that's a Monday, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, and then, the Checker Road traffic calming, just, update on the speed limit, we're working with, Gila Township to get those installed. Haven't got a schedule from them yet, but, we'll get those installed so they can be out for a period of weeks before, weather turns and things.
Can you jog my memory? Where will they be? On Checker or Checker
They're
and
on,
Schaefer or Schaefer?
They'll be in the same location they were last fall. One is 700 feet east of Schaefer, and the other's, 1,300 feet east of Schaefer.
Okay, so both on checker.
Yep, both on checker.
Thank you.
What else do we need to talk about?
That's the end of my report, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Jeff? I did skip the village planners report. I see Helen Wilson here. I don't know if she has anything to add, but I don't believe, the report's there, we don't have the planner here, so we're gonna move on unless there's questions that I can't answer because the planner's not here. Then I would like to defer item 20, until after executive session. And that is the soccer field. We do have discussion and consideration of an ordinance amending section 3.2.5 of the village code regarding the number of authorized liquor licenses. Harbor Chase changed names, and so we need to do this to, because they expire when
because Harbor Chase has sold their license, which is personal, both terminated and fell off of our list. So we have to add it back into our list. There's also a couple of adjustments to reflect other changes in liquor licenses, but the real reason for this is to ensure that the Harbor Chase license can be extended to the new one.
So moved.
Okay, moved by trustee O'Reilly, seconded by trustee Kritzmeyer. Roll call, please.
Trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
Trustee Kritzmeyer. Aye. Trustee Jamil.
Aye.
Trustee Connor. Aye. Trustee Tanucci.
Okay. Carried. I'm keeping us moving, it's like a delay. Hi, sorry. Sorry, I keep cutting you off, because I'm like, we're gonna go.
That's okay.
All right, so, so the village president trustee reports, I do just have one thing to talk about. I talked to Barbara Clip last week from the Midwest Sustainability Group, and she said that the deputy governor, per the deputy governor, Pritzker is in support of the transfer of the state-owned land in the former Route 53 corridor to the IDNR. So, she said that she believes that State Senator Adrian Johnson is going to put forth a bill for funding for the $1 million in funding that the IDNR and CMAP has identified necessary to conduct a study for a working group, to put those plans together for the state park. But she did say, however, that there was some not so good news in that she said that she heard that the land transfer won't happen until this study is done, because they were telling us they thought it would happen, if we got the funding, the way they would automatically move it. So, she also mentioned about putting a moratorium as part of this bill that's gonna be sponsored on the transfer of any land while the study takes place. That's so that, maybe a neighboring village couldn't plop a soccer field and block the path, right, in a way. Don't do that. So more to come on that. And then there's also a event that I forgot to put on here. What is it? The open land celebration. What day is it? I forgot to put that in here. So there'll be a celebration coming up at Heron Creek. We'll get it out to you. So,
In Lake County.
In Lake County, yeah.
No, what's Lake County?
What do you mean? It'll be right here in Long Grove.
No. You just sent out a memo about Lake County and
Oh.
change in.
Emergency plan, their comprehensive plan?
Yeah. I can't think of the wording, but it was very pro 53.
They want to change it to a parkway instead of.
Yeah, that they endorsed that.
Greenway, excuse me.
Yeah, it is in favor of the corridor.
But it says part of their new planning.
Right, their comprehensive plan.
It's new, it's not old.
Right, yeah, it's good news.
Yeah, you just sent it out today.
Yeah, no, and I saw it, but I didn't read it, so, but there was just no time, so.
It was just the highlights, the highlights that you sent out, or that Taylor sent out. His comments were basically, hey, they're endorsing this. I mean, I don't know how
It's better than
plan,
that.
I don't know if plans so right now, and usually on those, it feels like it's wish or hope, but,
All right, so I'll keep us moving. End of my report. Let's see, there's trustee Borowski's not here. Trustee Jamil, do you have anything for us? Trustee Kritzmeyer?
I would point out that our treasurer's report, which we put on the consent agenda, continues to look very rosy. We're building things. Part of that is we're building, reserves and interest rates are going up and we're getting, some, certain areas are going up because of that. So I think that when we go through the next budget process and pay for the village hall, we just all oohed and out over, this will look a lot different, but in a good constructive way.
Thank you. Any report? Trustee O'Connor?
Just have one reminder, if you could speak with Hawthorne Woods about.
I did already. But again, I can talk again, but they said they had to wait till the next budget cycle, so.
Year after year.
But Barbara was gonna have a talk with them though.
I'm sorry, what's the topic?
The topic was to get them to fund, Barbara's work, the Midwest Casino.
Oh, to be, for
additional funding. 'cause
put
the-
money behind the Greenway
Right, yeah.
effort. Thank you.
Yep. So, and I can talk again to them, but Barbara was gonna do that though.
Yeah, but.
I will. I'll talk to
Thank you.
Mayor DiMaggio. Trustee O'Reilly. Trustee Danucci.
Nothing.
Okay, village manager's report.
Just call me, or touch base with me if you have any questions. I put a lot more in there this time.
You had a lot of things on there. I do have some questions.
Call me.
You got it?
Okay, so then, what I would like is a motion to go into executive session, discuss personnel, pending and threatened litigation, and acquisition of disposition of property. Moved by trustee O'Connor, seconded by trustee O'Reilly. Roll call, please.
Trustee O'Connor? Trustee O'Reilly? Trustee Jamil?
Aye.
Aye. Trustee Tanucci?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. I waited, right? Okay, thanks, give me a hard time. All right, thank you, everyone. Thanks for taking pictures, by the way, too.
I'll send them to you and, I'll get on the show.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, see, can we, thank you, thanks, Jeff. Helen, I'm gonna ask you to leave if you can. Can we shut that camera off?
The air on, why do we have the windows open?
What?
The air on, why do we have the windows?
I don't know, I didn't do it. It was just to get air circulating in here so that, not because you're full of hot air. All right, as soon as we do that, I'm going to, put us into executive session. Oh, you're just gonna leave it, down, the camera, leave it on?
They can't hear on that, it's just a visual.
Correct, yeah. Maybe I won't even put it in executive session.
Can I, get Jen Flash, ask a question while you're doing that?
Go ahead, yes.
I would think that any time for loosening things up,
Rita, can you move the microphone closer?
Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, moved by, trustee O'Connor, seconded by trustee O'Reilly. Roll call, please.
It can be a voice vote.
Or voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Same thing for item 22, you said we discussed after.
No, we're not gonna, we don't have to address anything at this point. No, we're good. So, all in favor? Aye. Any nays?
Aye.
Motion carried. Good night, everyone.
Nice.
Good night.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night.
Good night, Dr.